I've been on the internet.
I don't even know what I'm doing yet. Okay, it should be running now, but I'm gonna give it like 15 seconds to make sure.
All right. There it goes. Yep. There
okay,
it goes.
boom, boom.
Yep.
I'm gonna just give it 10 more seconds of buffer time just in case. And then 3, 2, 1.
The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, September 22nd, the most important day of the week. And today is National Brown Butter Day.
Love brown butter. You know how to make brown butter, Jason?
I didn't even know that was a thing. Isn't that just like burnt butter?
It's not burnt.
Really?
Burnt would be black butter.
Interesting. I never knew that. You cook with brown butter, Yarrow? Up in the Shire?
Yeah, it's a thing.
Okay.
I mean, I've even had brown butter ice cream from a bougie ice cream shop. It's definitely a thing.
Okay.
Brown butter ice cream sounds legit.
Oh,
It
man.
is. It was from Humphrey Slocum in San Francisco, and they are legendary for their unique flavors.
Interesting. It's also National States and Capitals Day.
Well, we have a lot of those.
50. We're about to have 51 pretty soon. We also, it's also National Online Recovery Day.
Recovery from online or online recovery from other addictions?
Recovery. No, it's more, it's for you to recover your files that you've lost online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have to reboot your router day or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's National Family Day. That's nice.
Every day is National Family Day.
That's right.
It should be.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
It's National White Chocolate Day.
White chocolate's not even chocolate.
Why is that?
Not.
I don't know about
It is
that.
too. It's
Not grown by an albino chocolate bean. No.
No, it's adulterated chocolate.
It's GMO chocolate. Is that what you guys are
Listen,
saying?
if we're going to talk about adulterated, I guess we're getting right into the Epstein files.
Well,
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah. It's also National Centenarians Day.
Centenarians?
Yeah, centenarians. Yeah.
Okay, 100 people who are over 100?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right.
Yep. And Yarrow, to your point, your brown butter ice cream, it is also National Ice Cream Cone Day.
All right.
That's the least exciting part of the ice cream.
Well,
That's
we
like
need
the
a brown
roach.
butter white chocolate ice cream and an ice cream cone.
Actually,
Oh,
sounds
man.
good.
Of course,
Yeah.
it sounds good.
It's also Dear Diary Day.
Dear Diary.
Jesse, yeah, I know you got girls, and so do you, Yarrow. It's National Girls Night.
Uh-oh. Every night is girls' night around here.
Yeah.
Did Epstein make that night too?
Oh, whoa.
Geez.
Easy there.
But,
Easy there, Tiger. Easy there. It's also American Businesswoman's Day.
Every day is American Businesswoman's Day.
I don't know about all that, but okay. It's also Car Free Day. So I guess you're supposed to like walk to work.
I'm always car free.
Always carefree, but I am always with a set of wheels.
It's not carefree. It's car free. It's because today is also the Autumnal Equinox. It's the start of autumn, basically.
Autumnal.
Yeah. Yes. Autumnal.
Autumnal.
Yeah. Thank you.
Help you out on that one.
Good looking out, Jesse. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's National Elephant Appreciation Day.
Please don't.
Yeah.
Anybody out there going and trying to appreciate an elephant?
I think elephants are one of the most fantastic animals out there.
I have a great story about elephants. It's not an amazing story, but it's a cool fact.
What's that?
About elephants. So, I lived in Africa for 6 months in my young 20s.
Where in Africa, Jesse?
Uganda.
Okay.
Kampala, Uganda, the capital city. Very cool. Very cool place. Very cool experience. One of the things I did was, of course, you go on a safari at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Queen Elizabeth National Park in Uganda is one of the best safari national parks in all of Africa.
Wow.
And I got to see elephants pretty darn close, like within 30 yards. And one of the most amazing things, we were in very sparse grassland where there's not really a lot of trees or anything like that. And I saw like 20 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as we got pretty close to them, they took off and they ran behind these bushes. And you would not think that that the word agile would be applied to them, but they were the most agile and fast animals like I've ever seen. They just disappeared behind these bushes, and we tried to chase them, and they were just gone.
They just cut and run.
It was amazing. It was a magical experience to see.
You're not getting our tusks today, buddy.
That's right.
We're out of here.
So there you go.
Interesting.
Elephants are agile. Never forget it.
Well, and Yarrow, this last one is for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's National Hobbit Day.
It's really funny because Jenny is the only time Jenny's correct is when she points out that you and I are the same height.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that, Yarrow. I think I'm a little bit taller.
Of you and I arm in arm at the Yoko Ranch for an Emerald Cup after party.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see this photo. Where is this photo?
Somebody showed it on the show once, and you and I are just like same level, bro.
I don't know.
The only place where I'm not at your level is when I don't regurgitate right-wing talking points, but you're the cutest one to do it.
I don't need to.
Elias needs that photo, dude. We got to get it to him.
Well, I'll let Yarrow search for it and send it over to us.
Jay's just going to adopt the current status quo, denying the photo evidence of things that have happened.
I don't deny anything.
Great.
I've said that I've stated that I'm taller the whole time. I believe that this photo exists. I know that this photo exists. I've seen this photo, and I'm taller than you in it. Not by a lot, but enough, Anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we're going to kick this off because cannabis companies are out of Colorado after reports of liver injuries, you guys. That's right. 3 companies linked to the production and distribution of a cannabis-based sleep aid will cease operations in Colorado following a settlement and a fine that resolves a lawsuit filed by the state. That's right. The companies are Nuka Enterprises, LLC, Sima Sciences, LLC, and Nuka Properties, LLC, which comprise the firms which manufactured and distributed the 1906 line of products in Colorado beginning in 2016. Among those products, Midnight Drops, a cannabis-based and plant-based mixture in pill form. The makers of the product began receiving complaints from consumers back in 2020, and according to a Colorado Attorney General's office press release announcing the settlement. The Colorado Department of Revenue, the DOR, Marijuana Enforcement Division, the MED, and the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, the CDPHE, notified consumers of the reported health issues back in 2023. The notice cited potential side effects of of Correspondents, an herbal supplement in midnight drops produced prior to March 1st, 2022. And despite limited research, the state agencies indicated the Correspondents rhizome extract may have some connection with liver injury, they say. And a quote, midnight drops produced after March 1st, 2022 also came with elevated liver enzymes that may indicate acute liver injury, the state notice advised. The product presumably contained the Stephiana extract containing L-THP, according to the notice. The companies agreed to stop production of the midnight drops and remove existing product from the marketplace, according to the state notice. However, the product was never removed from the shelves, and the companies continued to make and sell midnight drops, according to the Attorney General's office. That also, the office also claimed the companies failed to perform adequate research on the two herbal extracts, nor did they supply sufficient communication to retailers about the reported problems with the product. Last week, the company settled the lawsuit filed by the state attorney general's office, and the 1906 companies agreed to pay a $400,000 penalty in addition to ceasing operations in Colorado. The agreement allows the companies to resume operations if certain conditions are met, and the press release did not specify the nature of the conditions or how long they must be adhered to. The agreement also permits more fines against the companies if they violate the terms of the agreement, and in total the penalties could reach up to $1 million, you guys. Wow. Liver, man, it's supposed to be remove all the toxins, but apparently this product is making your liver toxic. What do you guys have to say about this?
You gotta be careful when you're adding other herbs and things to edibles. Mm-hmm. And I thought there was regulations against this, but I guess not. I have seen products with like valerian root and melatonin added for sleep things. Mm-hmm. I'm not familiar with this herb that's causing liver damage, but the herb apparently the herb itself is warned to possibly cause that, and they're just adding it into the product. That seems like a really foolish and stupid thing to do. Mm-hmm. There's other ways to create, super sleepy edibles.
Yeah, I what do you think about this valerian root?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're stuck on stupid, right? Like a lot of people like to add all these different botanicals to show how much they're apothecary, like doing their little herbal Bible thing. And it's like, unless they actually studied these, unless they have data behind it, unless the formulator was somebody other than some grow bro who took a time out from his trimming position, like it's reckless, it's stupid. I mean, a lot of conventional drugs come from plants, from aspirin to Valium, and plants are a source of a lot of medicine. We talk about plant medicine on this show all the time. Doesn't mean you can just start mixing and matching like it was a fucking paint job on a bathroom remodel. Yeah. And so unless they have the data to support it, it's stupid and reckless. And so am I surprised that something happened? No, I'd say it falls under the category of fuck around and find out. This is a plant that has supposed health benefits. And look, I'm all for saying just because the FDA hasn't proved it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. I understand there is data outside the body of our sort of, Western medicine, double-blind scientific study approach. But it doesn't make any sense for cannabis companies to be at the tip of the spear for those types of merged formulations. Frankly, I don't think cannabis should be mixed with much of anything other than a good time. I don't think you should mix it with caffeine. I don't think you should be mixing it in formulations with alcohol. I don't think you should be mixing it with other plants. If people want to use cannabis, let them use cannabis as cannabis, and don't have them trust that your formulations where you're adding in other ingredients that have other side effects, both positive and or otherwise. It just like that's just not a good idea. And they're find out in this situation. Yeah. I mean, they basically got a lifetime ban from the state. I mean, that's like being a stock trader and them saying you can't work on Wall Street anymore. You're done. So that's a pretty substantial consequence.
They said that they can resume operations, although we don't know how long they have to remain closed for. But
that is not what they said.
That is what it says. Here,
it said last week the company settled the lawsuit. The 1906 companies agreed to pay $400 in addition to ceasing operations in Colorado.
I understand that. I understand that. And it says the agreement at the end. The agreement also permits more fines against the companies if they violate the terms of the agreement, up to $1 million.
Yeah. So maybe you're right.
And it says they can resume
certain conditions in the future exist.
Yeah.
But I think let's look at that through a very sort of regulatory lens. What is the upside in Colorado for Colorado and for their regulatory bodies to allow a company back if that company wants to start adding other ingredients into cannabis products? I mean, maybe they're allowed back if they have a SKU line that is just cannabis. But
we don't know.
Fast and loose.
Yeah, we don't know what the terms of the settlement were in regards to that. But it does state that they do have the ability to reopen, in essence, whether or not what time frame that is and under what conditions we're not aware of. But it does state that. And Nick Bradley in the chat, he says combining cannabis and melatonin and other legal chemicals in products is illegal under the U.S. federal law due to the FDA regulations. Despite this, many such products exist and are sold without proper oversight.
Yeah, well,
I think that's right. That was my understanding, is that even in state legal operations, you're not allowed to add other herbal supplements technically. That puts you in immediate risk of all the protections that are given by the federal government to not prosecute state legal companies. It actually now allows them to do that because you're doing something that's outside of the bounds. And I'm looking up this Corydalis rhizome. It's very clear that there is a toxicity that can happen with this chemical called THP that's in this thing, and it causes a form of hepatitis in the liver. Yeah. So the fact that these people are doing this and they don't understand what they're doing and they don't understand what's happening, and then they got caught and they just kept selling it.
Yeah, they said they were going to pull it off the shelf, and they never pulled it off the shelf.
In fact, they kept manufacturing it.
Yeah.
It says.
Yeah.
So that's just I don't know why you would do that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah. They must have been making money hand over fist with this product enough to not care.
Yeah.
But that also doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, what cannabis industry business is really willing to risk millions of dollars in the future of their company to sell one product? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well,
it feels like something else is going on here.
Speaking of something else going on over here, there was another story that we may cover tomorrow, because this brand 1906 there was a press release that came out with them releasing a new product, which I thought was super interesting. And 1906 is in a number of different states, so obviously this probably is not going to be sold in Colorado, or maybe they have a totally different manufacturing partner for this brand. But I have to think that this is a big blow to the brand and is going to really erode the public's trust in this brand 1906 overall. Well, on that,
if it's going to erode the public's trust, because I don't know how much the public is paying attention. I think it'll definitely erode investor trust.
Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back. We are back, you guys. We are back. Well, Kentucky, very interesting thing in Kentucky, because chronic pain is the number one reason Kentuckians applied for a medical marijuana card, you guys. Chronic pain. It just goes around with cannabis all the way around because it's the chronic pain is the number one reason why people apply for a medical marijuana card in Kentucky. Margaret Van Kampen reports in a quote, "The number one condition the office is seeing is chronic pain, followed by post-traumatic stress disorder, cancer, multiple sclerosis, chronic nausea, and seizure disorder, according to data received by the WHAS in an open records request to the state's Office of Medical Cannabis. Kentucky law limits medical marijuana to state residents living with at least one of 6 qualifying conditions, including cancer of any type or form, epilepsy, and other intractable seizure disorders, chronic or severe pain, multiple sclerosis, muscle spasms and spasticity, and post-traumatic stress disorder, and chronic nausea or clinical vomiting syndrome." A spokesperson from the governor's office told Van Kampen that as of September 15th, 13,925 Kentuckians have been approved for a medical cannabis card, with just over 90 of them having caregivers of people who help patients with purchasing and administering it. And medical cannabis practitioners have submitted almost 20,320 electronic written certifications. As of September 4th, news conference, Governor Andy Beshear said while the dispensaries are waiting on the cultivators and processors, he believes they will be appearing by the end of the year, he said. "I think everybody is working as hard and as fast as they can, but they're wanting to make sure they do it right as well," he says. Kentucky Health News is an independent news service of the industrial rural journalism community and based in School of Journalism. But this is interesting. I mean, chronic pain, I guess chronic pain covers the most conditions overall and is probably cast the widest net in what people can be able to obtain a recommendation for. So I'm not surprised that this is the largest thing, and a lot of people just have regular chronic pain. I mean, look at all the topicals and creams and different types of things that are sold, you know what I mean, even over the counter market at drugstores every day. So I'm not surprised by this at all with Kentucky, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I think when chronic pain is allowed as a symptom to be prescribed for in medical marijuana, it's always the number one reason that people get it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was the case in Montana,
mm-hmm.
For sure. I'm pretty sure that was the case in California as well. Clearly before everything goes adult use, but.
Well, chronic pain, it just covers such a wide variety. I remember what was that guy? Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly was doing an expose on what he called the abuse of the medical cannabis recommendation going on in California. And there was a woman that got her recommendation that he was citing, that got her recommendation for chronic pain because of the pain in her feet from wearing high heels every day.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing Bill O'Reilly was abusing was the women who worked with him, and we can talk about the settlements that were paid out in the millions because of his demeanor. I think he's a good example of somebody who should probably take their own advice, because he caused chronic pain to the women who had to suffer through his harassment. Here's the thing about this, right? Which is, it's great that they're opening it up to this obtuse category.
Mm-hmm.
My feeling is if you can write a script for OxyContin,
obtuse, not acute,
you should be able to write one for cannabis in a state. And the bigger picture to me is, if cannabis is a wellness supplement that helps people to maintain their own homeostasis, the sooner we stop looking at it through this very strict medical lens, and the sooner we just open up adult use so that somebody can do it for a favorable feeling, whether that's a recreational feeling or to take the edge off of migraine. It's just, we're chipping around the edges of the bigger issue here. It's like when Texas goes from a teeny little number of brick and mortar dispensaries to a bigger number that's still teeny for brick and mortar dispensaries. It's incremental change. It's like it's just not enough and not quickly enough. And so I'm glad that there's sort of this opening. But the conversation to me is not about what qualifies for medical. Conversation for me is, why do we still feel the need for somebody to have a verified medical ailment in order to access cannabis? If it's clean, if it's lab tested, if it's age gated, then what's the problem?
I agree with you, Yarrow. There shouldn't be any reason why people shouldn't be able to obtain medical cannabis unless other than their age, and with a certain types of qualifications for minors and with their parents' permission. I have no problem with, but I totally agree with you. I mean, let's let adults be adults, and let's let people try plant medicine if they believe that it's something that can help them, or even try something before or even after they've had to try something else.
And the biggest gap here in thinking is people are using cannabis in this state anyway. The only difference is, are they going to get something safe where the state benefits from tax revenue, or are they going to get something unsafe or maybe unsafe because it's the trap? So the idea of like, oh, we're opening it up to more people to use. No, you're not opening it up to more people to use, because those people are using it anyway. The only question is whether you're going to wrap your arms around human behavior and provide a safe paradigm where people can get clean product and not have to cop at the gas station parking lot.
Yarrow, you know, I want to push back on that just a little bit, because you're assuming that just because you're purchased it in a licensed facility, licensed place, that it's a clean product. And we just had a story about products that were purchased in licensed places that were giving people liver problems. So it doesn't always work like that, Yarrow.
Well, it's hurting my liver for you to say that, but I think a more accurate statement might be that it has a higher probability of being safe.
I think I can get down with that. You have a higher probability of purchasing a clean product at a licensed retailer than as opposed to at a gas station or from your buddy down the corner or whatnot, or your local trap man. I'll agree with that part. You have a higher probability, but the reality is there's still dirty products that make it through the system and whatnot. And, you know, the whole testing thing is kind of a joke to me in my, anyways, but, whatever makes people sleep better at night, right?
I think that all depends on the consumer and how discriminating and knowledgeable they are. If you're knowledgeable about cannabis, you're not buying random trap weed from some random plug or dealer that you're getting it from. Which, if you are doing that, you're probably getting some really bad Chinese weed that's sprayed with Eagle number 40 or whatever it is. But if you're smart and you're discriminating, then you're buying from somebody who you have seen their operation, you've seen their grow, you know what the weed is like, you know how it's grown. And that's really the only way that you can verify that anything is safe, is to put your own eyes and your own hands on it.
Yeah.
So people need to be aware of that, and people need to get to that level of consumption with everything that they have. If you're buying some random lettuce from some random farm and it's not organic and it's not verified in any way, how do you know what they spray on it? How do you know how they got rid of the bugs? How do you know? You don't know anything about it. You don't know what you're eating. And unfortunately, most Americans are probably like that. They just put whatever in their body, whatever conventionally farmed thing that they can get that's the most convenient and the cheapest. And that's what people think about, is what's convenient and what's cheap. Well, what's convenient and what's cheap is going to your local dispensary that's right around the corner and buying $1 pre-roll. Do you think that pre-roll is safe?
No.
I doubt it.
No. Well, Red Setter Farm in the chat, he says, my neighbor has cancer that has moved to his bones, and he could care less about the local dispensary. His neighbor has clean products, he says.
That's the way.
Yep.
That's the way. It's your neighbor. Grow it yourself, or a trusted friend who grows it for you. That's really the best way.
Fair enough. Any other final thoughts on this, Yarrow, before we move right along?
No, sir.
All right. Well, we do want to say hello to Mr. Matthew St. Germain, who happens to be joining us today watching the show. So what's up, Matthew? Hope you're doing well, buddy.
MSG, what's up?
Yes,
My
yes,
man.
yes. We have conflicting interpretations, you guys. This was going to be Michael Minardi's story, but unfortunately he's at court right now and wasn't able to make it. But there's conflicting interpretations over local government's authority to make it increasingly likely that judges or lawmakers will soon try to clarify the law. That's right. Whether it comes from courtrooms or the Capitol, Minnesota's cannabis laws look in need of clarification in response to wide interpretations by cities. Local governments, by law, can cap the number of cannabis retailers, place restrictions on where businesses are located, and set hours of operation. And then they say prohibition is a step too far, because cities are using the law's language or finding areas not addressed by the law to achieve similar ends, however, raising questions that may end up being hashed out by judges or lawmakers. And it's probably going to be a cold courtroom that they hash that out in. Yes. One court case involving Albert Lee's denial of a cannabis retail license is ongoing. A rejected applicant for a cultivation business in Silver Bay said he's considering his legal options. In all, attorney Carol Moss knows of about 20 cities statewide on the naughty list for ordinances she sees as contradicting states' laws. A common one, she said, who monitors cannabis policy statewide at the Edna-based Helmuth and Johnson law firm. She says that it involves buffers imposed between businesses and churches, and the law only carves out room for buffers from schools, daycares, and residential treatment facilities and certain parks. The state's Office of Cannabis Management offers guidance on the law, but has no legal authority to compel cities or counties into compliance, and this leaves it up to individuals to challenge local ordinances in court. But, of course, timing is everything, because Minnesota's Court of Appeals can weigh in on the legality of city ordinances, Moss said, and the process can be lengthy and costly, pricing most people out of it. In a quote, "That becomes a problem because we're at the beginning of this industry and this market," she said. "That time and money are at a premium." Costs have been a barrier preventing Greg Lynn from appealing Silver Bay's rejection of his business application, and Lynn intended to open a cannabis cultivation business in the North Shore city until he got stonewalled earlier this year. Silver Bay passed an ordinance in January stating it would not issue a registration or a license to any retail or other cannabis business, citing a specific part of Minnesota law found under the Minnesota statute section 342.13I to justify the ban. The section reads, if a county has one active registration for every 12,500 residents, a city or town within the county is not obligated to register a cannabis business, it reads. Lake County, where Silver Bay is located, has only 10,855 residents, and because another city in the county, Two Harbors, passed an ordinance stating an intention to issue one cannabis business license, Silver Bay appears to have interpreted the law to mean the county satisfied the minimum. Lana Fralrich, a city administrator in Silver Bay, declined to comment on the city's ordinance, citing pending litigation, and they say the active registration wording in a state law is notable here. Two Harbors and Lake County seemingly didn't have any active cannabis business registrations at the time Silver Bay passed the ordinance and denied Lynn's application. Two Harbors ultimately didn't approve a cannabis retail license until August, meaning Lynn may have been the county's first active registration if Silver Bay hadn't stopped him. Another consideration is that part of the law allowing limits on active registrations may not be referring to cultivation businesses. Above the section setting a minimum number of active registrations per county's population, the law refers to caps on retail registrations. And Lynn believes the city ordinance is in direct conflict with the statute, and he interprets the statute to be referring to retail rather than cultivation. And whether the merits of the case, he hasn't yet figured out how to make a costly legal fight work yet. In a quote, he says, "I'm still trying to find an attorney that I can afford," he said. But there is latitude in the law because Albert Lee's city leaders initially characterized their denial of a cannabis retail license during a July public meeting as a stand against state law. Publicly stated reasons shifted afterward to a stance on how cities should have more leeway when considering applicants, and a lawsuit filed in the Minnesota Court of Appeals against Albert Lee in August alleges the city council denied Jacob Schiltler's application for political reasons. His plans of smoking tree met all statutory criteria, the lawsuit states, and Albert Lee's response in court, dated September 9th, denied the council's actions were political, but denial stemmed from concerns for public safety of Schiltler's ability to operate in a lawful and respectful manner, according to the city. Schiltler has a misdemeanor conviction involving a minor on his record from 2017, which city manager Ian Rigg cited as a reason for the council not to reconsider its denial of Schiltler's application in August. The council's initial vote against the license by a 4-3 margin occurred in late July. Mayor Rich Murray in August characterized the denial as a way to protect residents, alleging the governor and legislature failed to do so in the cannabis law. And in a quote, they say, approving this registration remains objectable by the city based on his refusal to follow lawful instructions, Murray stated. In a press release, his reaction to the denial was to harass people to the point they sought new restraining orders after a few years of silence. The applicant has publicly stated that he does not have to follow any of the local requirements. And Schiltler did not immediately return a call requesting comment, and if city leaders were concerned enough about Schiltler's past to question his application before the initial denial, no one voiced the sentiment on the record during the July meeting. At that meeting, the mayor bemoaned how the state rammed cannabis legalization down their throats, and council member Larry Baker explained how his vote was a way to say no to the legislature, saying he was tired of control being taken away. And the city manager and the city attorney at the time told the council it could open itself up to a lawsuit if it blocked the application, and their stance was the city's hands were tied after the applicant got the okay from the state. These statements before the initial denial could be costly, could be closely scrutinized in an appeals court, Moss said, and she has experience appealing city decisions in appeals courts where judges consider what reasoning and info a council or committee used when making decisions. And in a quote, all of that information is going to be used against them, she said. The evidence Schiltler will have at the Court of Appeals is pretty significant that the city council was taking into consideration things that were improper. And Albert Lea ended up approving 2 other applicants based in New Mexico and Washington. As an aside, the Washington applicant Christina Angeruz had a role in halting Minnesota's social equity cannabis retail lottery in late 2024 by filing a lawsuit alleging the process unfairly denied her application. If the issues raised in Albert Lea's and Silver Bay aren't resolved in the courts, legislation could refine the law to rein in a range of interpretations by cities. And a spokesperson for Representative Jessica Hansen from Burnsville, who co-authored the bill legalizing cannabis, stated that discussions on specific language updates are ongoing, you guys. Well, look at that. This is going to be a whole big old can of worms right here. This guy, first of all, the first thing when they talk about this land ordinance, I think the local ordinances do have the ability to throw churches into the mix if they want to. I don't think that's out of the cause. I think you would agree with that, Yarrow, being a real estate expert on that. But this guy that got denied because of a minor. Previous incident with a minor, I think that is just cause to revoke his application, but it doesn't sound like they revoked it correctly.
Here's the deal, right?
Yeah.
If cannabis wants to be treated with parity and be treated like any other industry, whether it's a liquor license or a gambling license, if we don't allow government to deny people based on convictions with a minor, then we are tying their hands. I mean, the only line of products this guy should be selling is Mike Tyson's rapist convicted profile. I mean, this is ridiculous, okay? If anybody should be denied the opportunity to be a part of a plant medicine industry, it's probably somebody who, again, just because he pled to a misdemeanor doesn't mean that the allegations against him in respects to whatever he did with this minor weren't heinous and terrible. A lot of times people will plead to something less in order to not go through the court process and to not risk a lot of taxpayer money spent on a costly trial that could result in a hung jury or whatever. So if we're going to talk about crimes of moral turpitude, right, I don't think anybody would disagree that assaulting women in any way, children in any way, taking advantage of the elderly, like there's like sexual abuse, doing weird shit with kids and like taking advantage of the elderly and preying on them. Like that's the triumvirate of like everybody agrees that that's a no-no. And so they're saying that that's the reason why he was denied. And bitches want to sue, okay? And because, oh, I need my day in court. I need my day in court. Okay. Nobody who's watching this show has convictions for something with a minor. Nobody on this show has convictions for something with a minor. In the unregulated cannabis industry, if you had convictions for something in a minor, you would not be invited into the Fokker family circle of trust for any reason. Your grass is not going to be provided to you, and your money doesn't spend any better than anybody else's. So the idea that this person is being unfairly discriminated against, no, I'd say they're being fairly discriminated against.
Well, Yarrow,
and I think that we need to give permission for government to go, you know, that's a little bit, that's beyond our comfort level, and I think a conviction with a minor would definitely qualify.
But Yarrow, but he's saying that because of the fact that they didn't bring it up in the hearing as an issue is why he's saying they shouldn't use it as a reason to deny him. And there
may be some due process law around that. I'm not sure. I know that in employment law, you don't have to tell somebody why you're letting them go. I'm not sure that the government is required to give every rationale or reason, but this quote from the city manager in the article that says, this gentleman has a misdemeanor conviction involving a minor on his record in 2017. That ain't ancient history. Yeah. Which city manager Ian Riggs cited as a reason for the council not to reconsider its denial of his application. I'm like, ugh, I'm like throwing up in my mouth. Like, I don't want to get weed from this person.
Well, then based off of that statement right there, Yarrow, that's not the reason that they denied it. That's the reason that they're not going to reconsider it.
Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, they didn't tell me every reason they denied it, and then say, oh, but the reason you're talking about later wasn't a factor in why you denied it to initially. That can't coexist. So either they gave him every reason and it wasn't in there, or they maybe didn't give every reason, and then subsequently they're like, look, guy, you're a fucking douchebag, and here's one of the reasons why. Like, nobody gets a conviction for something with a minor for no reason, right? Like, is this guy alleging that he was unjustly accused of that? I don't know. I just know that anything where the sentence says conviction and a minor, I don't want to know you. I don't want your business in my area. I don't want people supporting you. You're not welcome into this plant industry. Thank you very much. Go sell fucking solar, all right? Just don't want to know you. No disrespect to my guys and gals who do a great job selling solar, by the way.
I feel like this article is a complete misstep in the way that it's written. Like, this is all about this story of this guy with this minor, but what it's really trying to highlight is the fact that local governments are able to step in and make adjustments to the state law to deny cannabis businesses their license. And the writer used a terrible example.
Yeah, he did.
Which totally takes us off track of what this story should be about. It becomes about what Yarrow's very excited about, which is this guy's apparent, dealings with minors. We don't know what that was. Did he buy him cigarettes? Did he buy him alcohol? Was he caught inappropriate with them? We don't understand what that is. It doesn't tell us. No matter what it is, it's bad. But that becomes what the story is about, and it shouldn't be that. They should have found some other examples that are better, that are around businesses being denied because they're too close to something that wasn't in the state law, like a church, and brought that up, but it doesn't seem like they had a lot of examples. So maybe this story is a little bit kind of like overblown.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
we know that those setbacks from sensitive uses are unfair. They're discriminatory against the industry. We know that they do not reflect the setbacks for other quote unquote sin businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I want a dispensary right next door to a Buddhist monastery. I do think there's something to be said for trying to think about how businesses, residential, and nonprofits all cohesively coexist in neighborhoods. But the setbacks, I've been saying it for a long time, are really, really crazy. They don't make any sense. They're arbitrary. They're cut and paste from policy of, bygone eras. And they also make less and less sense the denser an urban environment becomes.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. We don't know what the conviction with the minor was for. I just know that the industry, when it was legacy and when it was medical, it felt like there was some unity. It felt like there was some cohesion. It felt like there was some value alignment. And it felt like us against the rest of the world, and that we stood for something. And those are ideals and qualities that I don't want to have either diluted or completely erased in a regulated industry. And I think that even though I may be painting with broad strokes of the brush, it's apparent as a parent that that's abhorrent, and that I wouldn't want anybody to be affiliated with that. And I probably wouldn't want to be associated. I wouldn't want to support that person's business. So, yes, people should have the right to go out and self-determination and free market and stand up their flag and do their thing. But if there was going to be a reason for disqualification, maybe some fuckery with kids might be the reason to be disqualified.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's obvious. And I think you're right that the values of this industry change dramatically when we go from medical to adult use. That's pretty clear. Once the green rush doors and the floodgates get opened, the value becomes about making the green more than what cannabis is originally for, which is health and wellness and
separate from, age gating and safe product. There was more to the cannabis industry when the industry wasn't an industry. It stood for something. People believed they were pushing something forward together, even when people's interests weren't congruent. There was a culture, right? And now you'll see it as the name of somebody's brand, but there was a culture, and that culture is valuable too. And that culture is evaporating quicker than most people care to admit. And I think it's valuable, evaporated, and it's worth trying to preserve. And if we were going to paint with those broad strokes, people who've made mistakes in their life in respects to, again, women, children, seniors. Yeah. I just don't know that we have to leave room for them. That God can forgive you, society can forgive you, but I don't want you to be selling weed.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, that's why this story. That's why this story is interesting in a sense, because they used an example where the city's correct.
Yeah.
Right. The city is right for stepping in and saying, "Hey, dude, you're too immoral or unethical to be operating a business like this. We don't want it." But it's highlighting other issues that aren't that, and where cities can just step in and do whatever they want outside of the state law, and that's actually the problem. So it's an interesting story because it's got both sides.
Yep. Fair enough. Well, on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months. I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me. We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created. Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees? All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
And we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. We are almost at 6,000 subscribers. So please smash that subscribe button if you have not already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you'll be able to read on our website at www.high9news.com. And if you have not already, make sure that you check out our 9/11 special featuring Congressman Dana Rohrabacher and Congressman Kurt Weldon of Pennsylvania as we break through and talk about what actually really happened on 9/11.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfers, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
What do you do? What do you do?
We are back. Go ahead, Jesse. Go ahead. Tell the story. Tell the story. What the guy do?
In 2016, at age 20, Schlichter was charged with felony deprivation of parental rights after he drove a 16-year-old girl from Texas, whom he had met online when she was 12, to his Minnesota home.
Yeah.
12 and 20. That's a big difference, Jesse.
No, she was he was 20 and she was 16.
She was 12, and then did this when she was 16.
He was 16 when he met her.
And he was how old at the time?
16 when he met her.
No.
And then 20
he was 16 and she was 12. And then
she wanted to run away from her parents. She wanted to run away from her parents, and he went and got her.
If you're 16,
hold on, that guy is lucky he didn't get it.
No 12-year-old. You can't sell me weed in my world. Thank you.
Well, also too, that guy is lucky he didn't catch a kidnapping charge.
He's lucky he didn't catch a shank. All right, I mean, come on.
Well, she was apparently. I mean, it was consensual. She wanted him to come.
It doesn't matter, bro. Crossing.
Minors can't give consent.
Crossing a state line.
So that's why it was felony deprivation of parental rights.
Well, he got off easy. He got off easy on that one, Jesse.
Yeah.
He got off
and let
really
me be
easy.
the first to go on record and saying my diatribe was 100% correct. Fuck that guy.
Correct. We all agree. Everyone, no one disagrees, and if you do, get the fuck out of here.
Log off.
Easy there.
Okay.
Well.
Go put your name in the black book.
On that, we're gonna roll right into Mr. Jesse Barney. Jesse Barney's the founder of Barney Design Code that can take your brand to the highest plateaus, even if you think you can get higher as well. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Jesse Barney.
All right. Thank you, Jason. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
My story comes out of MJ Biz Daily by Margaret Jackson this morning. The headline is this: Trump's India tariffs threaten cannabis industry's fastest growing segment. The Trump administration's recently imposed 50% tariff on imports from India is threatening the cannabis industry's fastest growing sector. India is the world's largest supplier of pre-rolled cones, a key part of a product category that recorded $2.3 billion in sales last year, according to data analytics from firm Headset. India accounts for about half of the global pre-roll cone supply, with Indonesia making up the other half, said Harrison Bard, co-founder of Custom Cones USA, which found in a new study published last year the pre-roll sales grew nearly 12% from 23 to 2024. For retailers selling pre-rolls for as little as $1, even a small increase in production costs could squeeze already tight margins. Operators now face tough decisions: absorb the added costs, pass them on to consumers, or switch suppliers. Some pre-rolls are made from cones sourced from India and Indonesia, while others are machine-rolled joints. The pre-roll supply chain is highly concentrated, with few viable alternatives outside of India, Indonesia, and China. With a 50% tariff, it becomes prohibitively expensive to source from India, Bard said. Some companies are already saying they can't do it. Custom Cones USA is evaluating options for using automatic cone rolling machines at U.S.-based production sites rather than having its cones hand-rolled in India. The cost of goods sold for cones varies by paper, filter, print, and other factors, but it can range from 3 cents to 8 cents per cone, said Hirsch Jain, co-founder of Los Angeles-based consultancy Ananda Strategy. For a 5-pack, a 50% tariff on declared value from India would add 8 cents to 20 cents in cost of goods sold. Because brand and retail markups are typically 2 to 3 times, retail prices could increase 20 cents to 60 cents per multi-pack. In many U.S. markets, this will likely create meaningful price increases for pre-rolls, Jane said. While Indonesia remains an option, Bard notes that China's quality is often inferior and its products are also subject to tariffs. There really aren't other places that make cones at scale, Bard said. Switching suppliers or materials could also disrupt branding. Many cannabis companies rely on custom branded cones to differentiate their products. If your pre-rolls are always in white paper, you don't want to switch. It's part of your branding, Bard said. As a result, some may opt for stock cones from established names like Zigzag or Raw, sacrificing custom logos to cut costs. Pre-roll machine manufacturer Roll Pros sources the tips its customers use in their pre-rolls from India. The increased costs resulting from tariffs will be passed along to its customers, said Kyle Lukes, CEO of the Vancouver, Washington-based company. But even more troubling than the increased costs is that shipments are being blocked at the border. In one instance, a Roll Pros shipment included tips that had THC stamped on them, which resulted in the seizure of all products in the order, including those without the stamp. Yeah, no joke. Duh. We printed THC on our papers. Why did they take them? Dorks. We have a tight timeline for all of our customers, and this makes it more expensive and time-consuming, Luke said. As a result, Luke said he is looking at options in the United States to produce tips. My engineering team is looking at what we can do to make these here. It's just better for the economy, he said. Jane said the impact of the tariff will vary by market. Operators will have to decide state by state whether to pass on the cost increase, accept margin compression, or invest in alternative suppliers, Jane said. States with higher pricing may be better positioned to absorb the added costs, while more price-sensitive markets could see significant disruptions. Operators with India-heavy sourcing will have to decide whether they will pass through the price to the consumers or accept some amount or margin compression or resource to the other countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, or China, Jane said. But he cautions against rushing to new suppliers in countries like Malaysia or Indonesia, given the unpredictability of U.S. trade policy. The tariff landscape is tumultuous, he said. The president could change his mind, and operators need to be cautious about making drastic changes. Raw Rolling Papers founder Josh Kesselman said his company quit sourcing its cones from India long ago because of quality issues. They are now made in an automatic robotic back-rolled cone factory in Europe or hand-rolled in Indonesia, both with high levels of quality controls. Both of those places face increased tariffs as well, between 15 to 19%, but not as extreme as the 50% tariff on India, Kesselman said. That said, Kesselman still has some issues with cones rolled in India. With some cones produced in the countries printed with a Made in France stamp, that's not fair to us or the consumer as they're misled, Kesselman said. Kesselman said he's also heard that some importers from India are claiming their products are made in Europe, which reduces their tariff to 15% unless they get caught. Another scheme involves companies in India underreporting the actual costs of their products, Kesselman said. They might sell to their related company in America with a price on the invoice that is 90% less than the actual cost, he said. That way, they only pay a very small tariff. And that highlights a bigger structural problem. The trouble with high tariffs or taxes is that it encourages people in this kind of situation to bend or break the rules. And that's the end of the article by Margaret. I have so many thoughts on this. I did some math, and a lot of this doesn't even make sense to me, because if you buy tips and papers from the store as a retail cost, you're going to pay about 8 cents per cone. So, and clearly that doesn't involve also rolling it and the labor there. But that's just the cost for the retail paper and tip from the store when you buy them as a consumer. So these prices don't really make sense to me, that they're breaking down to almost 8 cents per cone when they're coming from a place like India and you're buying them in extreme bulk levels. So I don't really get where they're getting these prices. They don't seem accurate. It seems like something's off there, first of all. Second of all, I agree with Josh Kesselman about the quality. I would be very concerned about these papers and these cones and where they're coming from and how they're processed and what's in them and what chemicals are used to make the paper and there's just so many things that can go wrong there. And to be smoking it and inhaling it into your lungs is very risky. So those are huge problems. And then I do also agree with him. I see how the tariffs are creating an increased willingness to break or bend the rules. So you've got to be careful of this. And this just goes back to, and I think, Jason, you would be right on this, is like, there's a million reasons that pre-rolls already suck. This is just another one.
Yep.
But another thing is like, if I'm a consumer and I'm going to a dispensary to buy a 5-pack of pre-rolls and I want to pay $5 for them, if that 5-pack is going to go to $5.50, is that really going to turn off the consumer? Like, what's the concern here? Like, it's going up 50 cents on a $5 pack of 5 pre-rolls. That seems like a
increase.
That seems like but on a $5 thing, like,
you look at it as a percentage and not in the dollar price point range. That's a massive thing. Let me interject for a second, because
but I disagree with that, and I want to finish my thought. That just seems like when we're talking about the consumer and what they want to buy and what they're concerned about, if they're concerned about $5.50 versus $5, I think that highlights a bigger problem in our consumerist society, where we're fighting to get down to this price point of $5 and buy the cheapest, crappiest thing we possibly can, which is going to lead to probably a poisonous and not great product. You're probably going to have pesticides in the weed. You're probably going to have paper. There's chemicals in the paper that you don't want to be smoking. All this mindset of keeping things as cheap as possible, rather than saying, hey, I'd rather pay $2 more and pay $7 for a 5-pack of pre-rolls and know that they're 100% made in America and that all of the chemicals and everything are safe and everything that's used with it. I think that where is the mindset and the cultural thing that needs to exist there?
If I may, this story is a springboard for touching on 2 major issues. First of all, Jesse, I don't think you can think of any consumer product good industry where a 10% increase in price to the consumer doesn't impact sales. There's something called a supply-demand equilibrium, and a 10% increase, whether we're talking about eggs, orange juice, pre-rolls, bread, gas, whatever, 10% is a big percentage, double digit. So I think what you're touching upon, and allow me to spring off into this, Jason, before you interject, or Jesse, before
Go ahead, Yarrow.
Reply back is, if when you say a 50-cent increase, the problem in this country is the gap between the haves and the have-nots. We don't have a middle class anymore. We have a working class and we have a ruling oligarch class. We have those that make their money by borrowing them against their stocks and paying no income tax on it. And we have those who are struggling to make ends meet and cover their family's health insurance. And so that inequality in this country makes these affordability conversations more pronounced for the working poor and the working class, because the middle class is like the cottage cultivator in Mendocino County. Like, it's like polar bears on shrinking ice caps. There might be a few of them, but there's not many, and it's not like there's going to be many left. So that's a big issue that we could be talking about, and how that impacts cannabis, consumer products, affordability. The second thing is the tariffs. I know you guys think that there's some redeeming attributes for Trump. Clearly, you were not on one of those planes when he went to the islands. I get it. But his tariffs, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, whether you are free market or you're for monopolies, whether you are a progressive or an arch conservative, his tariffs are bad economic policy. Even the people in the Republican Party, even the established Republican thought processes and planks are saying, what the fuck? And so all he's done is leaned into his little maverick identity, created a ton of volatility, a ton of uncertainty. It's been difficult for American businesses. It's been difficult for businesses that source inputs from overseas. And it has been a massive source of instability. It is terrible, terrible economic policy. You don't make America great again by playing this tariff game. It is Russian roulette with the economy at best, or it's Harry Carey at worst. And I'm seeing the guts of the American economy spilling out on the floor as he eviscerates the country he proclaims to love. And it is affecting soybean farmers in red states. It is affecting pre-roll manufacturers. It is affecting vape manufacturers. It's affecting car manufacturers. It's stupid. And so we are just seeing a lot of stupidness coming out of this White House. And we need to be able to separate the partisan affiliations to say, wait a second, whether you believe in issues related to who goes into a bathroom or you're worried about open or closed borders, let's just all agree that it's the economy, stupid, right? To quote James Carville. And when it comes to this economy, these tariffs across the board have not been proven to have any tangible benefit for businesses and Americans.
All right, so
I have a reply. I have one reply before you jump in, Jason.
Go ahead, Jesse.
I understand your hate for tariffs, and I've gone and done a ton of research on them because I'm a little agnostic on them. As a libertarian, I don't really see their complete value, but I would advise you and others to go and read actual Keynesian economics understandings, and then contemporary people like Art Laffer, Stephen Moore, and Orrin Cass.
Shout out to Art Laffer.
As well as Scott Bessent, who is our Secretary of the Treasury. They have really compelling arguments. They're not stupid people. So just like writing off as like, this is retarded, this is stupid, it doesn't make any sense. There actually is a lot of things that do make a lot of sense. The problem is that it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of factors that also have to come into play. And if those factors don't come into play and there's not enough time, it won't work out. So I would advise people to actually do research, not just jump off the cliff of these are stupid because Trump decided to do it. Well, that's just TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, which doesn't make sense.
They're not.
You've got to actually see that there are good reasons for them, and they could work.
Listen. It's not stupid because Trump decided to do it. It was stupid before he decided to do it.
Well, there are actual great.
I disagree with all that. I disagree with all that.
Republican policymakers were not in favor of it. Previous tariff history has shown a decline in the economy and often recessions There is 90 plus years of history showing that this is not an effective tool. You know, the Office
Yarrow, I have a
of
question.
whatever budget management was like, please don't do this. Wall Street didn't like it. The stock market didn't respond positively. So like separate from, oh, here's a good book, or hey, they have some good talking points to support the policies their boss decided to actually do, because that's their job, is to support their boss. There's not really a like collective body of knowledge out there that is saying, yes, this is great. And it's not really a free market. So even if you're a Republican and you believe in capitalism and a free market, tariffs are the least free market you can come up with.
You're saying these things like it's universal. When you say Republican policymakers weren't behind these tariffs, that's not true. A lot were. So it's not universal that Republicans weren't against these. Some were and some weren't. So you have to be fair here and understand that there's actually a spectrum of opinion on this. It's not just one-sided. It's Trump versus everyone else. That's not how it is. And then Wall Street, responded poorly the week of, but what about the next 6 months? It responded amazingly, actually. The Wall Street's doing great right now. So it had a bad week, but it has had a killer 6 months. And you can't just say, well, it had a bad week and that means everything. That doesn't mean everything. And also, Wall Street is not the only factor. So you have to go read these economists who really are the experts and go study them. They have great thoughts, and there's things to dive into, and there's more than meets the eye to these tariffs. And I also agree. I'm suspect of them as well. I don't necessarily think they're a perfect solution, but I know that the solutions that were happening before weren't working either. So I'm willing to try something new. Go ahead, Jason.
All right, so I am in support of these tariffs, because the reality of it is that anybody that did not think that our country was going to have a recession just lives in Delulu-Lemonville. Okay, and they have a fantastic piece of property right off of the Denial River. Okay, the reality of it is this: is that all of these special projects, and thank God for Doge and coming in and cutting such government fraud and waste like USAID and all these other special things, and we need to do even more and get rid of all these funding of all these different NGOs, because we shouldn't be paying for any of this shit. Thank God that all of this has happened, because we would have been on a fast track to not just a recession but a depression. And thank goodness that the president has enough smart people around him, economy wise, to be able to find a way to where it's not making it as bad as it could be. And everyone knows that it's bad, and he got handed a terrible economic situation. Even from his first term, he got handed a terrible economic situation because Obama screwed so much stuff up, and so did Bush prior to him, and even Clinton when they created NAFTA originally. So there's plenty of fault. Hold on, Yarrow. Let me finish, Yarrow. Let me finish. There's plenty of fault to go around. Okay, he is trying to make the best out of a terrible situation. So shout out to him for that. But now, when it comes to this cone thing, okay, this is totally ridiculous that anybody would be buying cones from India, and the fact that it's over 50% of the industry that is buying cones from India just speaks to one of the reasons why the trap market is flourishing so well. Okay, because the reality of it is this, Yarrow: cones are stupid. Cones are for ice cream, not for pre-rolls. People need to be smoking hand-rolled things that are straight and narrow, not these funny V-shaped things that are just screwing up how everything burns in the first place. It's totally dumb.
Let me talk about funny shapes for a second.
Go ahead.
The Republican Party cannot say it's the party of Reagan if it's in favor of these tariffs.
Yes, it can.
Okay. Nope. Poor little bedtime for Bonzo would be turning over in his grave.
No, he
looking
wouldn't.
at the supposed economic policy that this guy is trumpeting as a solve with very little to no historic data to support these experimental approaches to trying to make
Let me tell you something, bro. The historical norm wasn't working. We were going down, 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 and just continuing to sink as like we're in quicksand, Yarrow. So you can't say, you have to try different things if you want to be, you know, the definition of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's what was happening through all of those different administrations. And shout out to the C Word who just threw in a super chat who says tariffs could not be further from cannabis currently, right? Well, that's cute.
Thanks to the C Word for bringing that up. That's really what this is about. Is how is it impacting cannabis? Yeah, and there are some ways that tariffs are impacting cannabis, and the ideal here, I think, to spell out the ideal of what happens with these tariffs is where we want to go with this. The ideal is that we buy better papers from better places that produce better quality papers, and that we buy rolling machines, or pay labor to do the hand rolling, either in a better country where they're doing better quality control and there's better prices, or we do it here, which is the best ideal situation and what these tariffs are intended to do. And I think a lot of companies are seeing that. I think what's going to happen is companies who are trying to scale their pre-rolls are going to go, well, let's buy a rolling machine and let's roboticize and automate our rolling in-house in our own country, and then we keep all the money. And that was my point by bringing up the fact that if you just buy papers and tips at retail, you're paying 8 cents. Which they were saying is already the cost of these things. Granted, they're printed. Okay, so you're getting you're getting a custom printed.
They're not
tip.
branded.
That's the difference.
They're not branded. They don't say THC on them.
Dump the branded tip. Buy a higher quality tip and a higher quality paper, which at wholesale prices is not going to cost you 8 cents. Buy a machine that will do this for you, and you're going to produce a better product at a cheaper price right here in the country, and you keep the money. That's actually how it works, and that's the point of what we're doing here and the point of the tariffs. Will people be smart enough to not just throw it off because this is a Trump idea and actually do that? I hope so.
You're so right about that. The branded tip is the most dumbest thing. It's all ego of the company wanting these branded tips. It's all 100% egocentric in relation of it, because the reality of the tip is the most disgusting part of a pre-roll or a joint whenever you get done with it, and all you do is throw it on the ground or throw it in the trash. And so why you want to have your brand associated and be all resined and gunked up and all nasty and whatnot is totally beyond me. But you know, people do it. But you know, and I'm with Steve in the chat who says bring production back to the USA. And on
that's the ideal.
Yep. And on that,
yep, go ahead.
Go ahead, Jesse. We're just going to go to commercial, but go ahead, finish your thought.
I was just going to say I do see that there are counters to that, like Josh said in the article. He's like, some people are just going to play the game and write a fake invoice and still get them from India. Okay,
sure.
You want to do that and play the fake game, and guess what? There is the FAFO, right?
Yep.
So if you do the FAFO, you probably are going to find out eventually. How long will you be able to play that game?
Who knows?
Who knows? But why do it? Why not just do what I said and buy better papers and produce your own cones in your own facility? It's easy.
Any final
and you
thoughts?
Get to keep the money.
Any final thoughts, Yarrow, before we move on?
No, I think we beat this one to death. I have lots of thoughts, but I'll save for the next show.
Fair enough.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Go ahead. Yep, and we are back, you guys. We're back. Yes, and we're going to roll right in to Mr. Yarrow Kubrin. He's the man from the Shire who's always available for hire, whether that's for real estate, or cannabis real estate. You can always find him, and he's ready to sell your property or maybe even buy your property if it's actually that tangible. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Oh man! All right, I'm keeping it tariff free.
Oh boy!
In the 707.
Nice.
Good morning, High at 9 News viewers. Thank you for tolerating my perennial disagreement with my co-hosts.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, September 22nd, rounding out almost 10:30 a.m. We're giving you the bonus session. Mine is about a topic I've continued to cover here on this show the last year and a half. THC beverages. So without further ado, out of AZ Marijuana, published today, THC beverage sales top 1.1 billion in 2024. Whitney Economics, Chad Bowe, a global leader in cannabis and hemp business consulting. I'm not sure about that. Maybe he got paid to put that in there. Data and Economic Research announced it has issued a comprehensive cannabis and hemp policy beverage report that examines the emerging THC beverage industry for a policy perspective and addresses demand and estimated legal sales by state. I'm not mad at Bo. Keep doing what you do, Whitney. In Arizona, THC-infused beverages can only legally be sold at dispensaries. An advanced summary of the report indicates the total potential market is valued conservatively at between 9.9 and 14.9 billion. You see how Whitney Economics had to go 9.9 to 14.9. He couldn't just go 10 to 15. He had to put that 0.9 in there to make it seem like it was really exact. I love that for him. Legal sales in the U.S. were 1 billion and 1.3 billion, meaning that there is still huge upside potential in the market. There are roughly 500 to 750 brands in the space nationally. That's pretty cluttered. Roughly 200 of which were selling via marijuana dispensaries. Most brands average about a couple $1 million a year, while top brands are easily doing more than 10 million or more in annual sales. At the time of this incredibly scholarly report, THC beverages are legal in about 28 states, legal but restricted in another 9, and can only be sold in dispensary stores in 7, and completely illegal in 6 states. I wish that bullet point, Bo, had included which ones you're talking about in terms of cannabis-derived cannabinoids versus hemp-derived cannabinoids, but it's okay. Call me. I'll help you get better. The cannabis beverage market is gaining serious traction, but we're still in early innings. With consumer demand rising and alcohol moderation trends accelerating, THC beverages are helping shape a new kind of drinking culture, one rooted in control, wellness, and enjoyment, said Art Masalo, Vice President of Business Development at Cycling Frog. He would know. They were selling quite a few cans. This report shines an important light on where the market is headed next, he said. I know Jason will disagree with me. That's why I'm here. Beverages containing THC were considered a niche market when they were initially sold through state-regulated cannabis dispensaries. Accounting for roughly 1% of total U.S. regulated cannabis sales, the THC beverage industry was not taken seriously until changes in federal law via the 2018 Farm Bill allowed for the proliferation of THC beverages across the United States. See, again, this article is not distinguishing between cannabis-derived THC beverages and hemp-derived THC beverages. Big miss there, but no, I'll digress later. The federal decoupling of hemp from marijuana enabled ingredients derived from hemp processing to be productized and sold directly to consumers with significantly less regulation and oversight. Yes, which means no statistics are accurate unless you bifurcate between regulated cannabis and slightly regulated hemp. As a result, the THC beverage industry experienced rapid expansion through multiple channels, including traditional marijuana retail dispensaries. No, that is not true. The rapid expansion based on the Farm Bill would have no impact on marijuana retail dispensaries. Go back to the drawing board. Let me proofread your article before I cover it next time. Direct-to-business sales increased, traditional alcohol distributors and even online direct-to-consumer sales This led to significant sales growth that has exceeded $1 billion in 2024 and is forecasted to expand exponentially in the near and medium terms. All right, so let me just preface this, okay? There are two different sets of analyses that need to be stood up side by side. One is track and trace, cannabis-derived, cannabinoid beverages, and hemp-derived cannabinoid beverages. Two different markets. You can have an aggregated total, but unless every single time you quote a statistic, you're indicating whether it's one, the other, or both combined, you are going to get static in the analysis. That said, I know that those of us that are purists, those of us that have been consuming cannabis for more than a minute, those of us that enjoy the organoleptic experience of grinding up flower, making our own smokable form factor, smelling it, touching it, experiencing it, are going to find this to be a very foreign form factor and a relatively impersonal way of interfacing with the cannabis we consume. But it's convenient. It's shelf stable. It can be easily shipped. If you're in a windy environment or you happen to be lucky enough to be on the back of a boat, you can crack one after you pull it out of the cooler. This is the way that American consumers, the custies, are used to feeling a high when it's not cannabis. And so it is replacing some of those alcohol consuming habits. And I think it is also replacing other cannabis consuming methodologies because of its convenience. So do I agree with what this article is saying in terms of the upward opportunity within this this niche? I do. Do I think that 20 years from now, it's going to be a huge percentage of the way in which people consume cannabis? I do. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News.
Beverages. This is people just trying to just hype up their beverages, more and more beverage hype. All of a sudden, it's just, it's basically, like this, Yarrow. It's basically, this article is basically like shaking up a can of soda and then opening it because they're just trying to just spray this bullshit everywhere. Okay. That's basically what's up with this article. No one cares about beverages. It's not going to be the thing that everybody thinks it's going to be. I don't understand why all these people keep on trying to push this narrative that they want it to just they just want this to be the biggest segment of the marketplace so bad. But I'm not buying it. It's total ridiculousness, and I'm willing to bet that these numbers are skewed somehow or another.
Well, they're obviously skewed when you say the total potential market is valued conservatively between 9.9 billion and 14.9 billion.
Yeah, that's
ridiculous. Is it 10 or is it 15? Why not say 20?
Yeah.
What's the difference between 15 and 20 when you're talking about
billions?
You're not talking about 10%.
Yeah.
You're talking about 50%. Why not make it 100%? Why not 75? Where do these numbers come from? And how are you coming up with numbers that are so widely ranging and then saying legal sales in the US were 1 billion?
Yeah.
And then saying there's 500 to 750 brands. How many brands are there? You don't know. So is it really 500 or maybe it's 300 and 600 or I don't know. How many brands are there actually? Roughly 200 of which were selling via marijuana dispensaries. So there's only 200. Where's the other 3 to 500 coming from?
Yeah.
The hemp space? Prove it, show it. It seems like it's funny, Yarrow, you made fun of Whitney kind of coming out right out of the gate of this article, and it seems like maybe there's more reason to make fun of them than you even let on.
Yeah, I will tell you why I made fun of Bo Whitney, because he used me as data for one of his, sources back in the day. And, as a pollster, as a data aggregator, has been building a career on the backs of people who give him their no-cost time to provide him with their insight and perspective. And then when I asked him for a LinkedIn recommendation, when I already had 67 at the bottom of my thing, the guy was too busy to write me a recommendation for the fact that I help him build his business. Now, I might not have been that instrumental, but if you build by grains of sand and that little grain of sand says, hey, will you give me a little shout out online? If you're too busy, honestly, fuck you. So in the unregulated industry, we always remembered the people who did us a solid. So I have a now fully disclosed axe to grind against somebody whose only job is to be wrong for a living, because it's economists and meteorologists that get to stay employed even if they don't exactly know what they're talking about. Now, to your point, when you create a data range that is so wide, if you prevent yourself from being incorrect, but the quality of your data becomes a lot less actionable. So if you say that the total addressable market or whatever it's going to be is between 9.9 and 14.9, and you and I think, are both right. By doing that 0.9, it makes him seem a little bit more scholarly. He should have just fucking rounded up. Pretty stupid. But the point is, the difference between 10 billion and 15 billion is 50%, right?
Yeah,
so if you're going to put a range that's 50%, I guess what? If I give you answers to questions and I can be plus or minus 50%, I'm going to be right all the time. He did the exact same thing when he said the total number of brands is between 570 and 750. Another 50% variance, which it doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, well, God, why don't you just give me numbers with such a wide range that they don't even matter and you don't even have to do your research? So yeah, am I gonna say that I have an axe to grind against somebody who took my time, I asked nothing in exchange, and 3 or 4 years later I said, hey, write me a little what? Yeah, I will, because that's not in culture for you not to remember who helped you to get to where you are, one little questionnaire at a time. That said, when you strip away Bo from the beverage, okay, when we get the Whitney out of the what we're talking about here, I do think, and if we actually get really scholarly and bifurcate between regulated cannabis-derived cannabinoids versus underregulated farm bill guided hemp-derived cannabinoids, even if you break those up or you look at them combined, I think the beverage category is growing. I think the person who saw the future was Julian Cohen when he worked at Constellation Brands, or was it InBev, and then went over to Canopy Growth.
Constellation.
That gentleman saw the future. Now, history is going to look back at that gentleman as visionary, like the Amelia Earhart of cannabis, okay? And he went from one of those companies, they invested like 3.3 billion, then he went to the other company and became their sort of, I think, like their, president of innovation. And eventually he no longer worked there because change has been slower moving than maybe some thought, and the adoption of that form factor has been slower moving. And so when people are like, oh, it's only 1% of the regulated market, great. But if you look at the percentage of growth and what it's doing, I still think it's really exciting. And there were a lot of problems along the way. How do you get hydrophobic cannabinoids to be suspended in a medium? How do you get those little cannabinoids not to stick to the side of the can? Oh gosh, we need can liners. There's been massive adjustments along the way, and nanoparticle technology, understanding what is the density of cannabinoids? How do you not have this sort of taste on your mouth? Veritosa banging their drum. Who's got IP in the space? It's a complicated nut to crack. But I believe genuinely that we will look back and beverages will continue to grow as a percentage of that both hemp and cannabis market. And I think that's my takeaway from the article, separate from Whitney Economics. They just happen to be the one putting this out there, but I don't think they're entirely wrong when we pan away and we get that 30,000-foot overview and we look at the bigger picture. I think beverages are here to stay. I think they're growing, and I think 20 years from now, people will be like, what? You use Chinese manufactured metal to heat it in a cartridge? Oh my gosh. And yeah, I think that form factor of vape cartridges will still stay here, but people are going to look at beverages as a very accessible way to get high.
I don't know, but Hawaii Sustainable in the chat, it says, LOL, everyone knows decimals make numbers sound more real.
Yes. They are optics, not insight. And that's a problem. We could do better.
I agree with this. You know, the beverage hype is the beverage hype, and people are going to keep on hyping up the beverages because there's so much money that has to get invested into it. They have to hype it up in order to keep their investor relations up on par from all the money you have to dump in to create these beverage products. And you covered a lot of the nuances that go into actually making a cannabis beverage, and it's not as easy as it looks. And so I agree with you on that. But as far as will the overall public all of a sudden just start, consuming cannabis beverages? Yeah, it's kind of like an interesting gateway product to get people to consume edibles. But if you look at a lot of the other data, especially for newbie customers in regards, if you walk into a store for your first time and you purchase a pre-roll or an eighth or something along that lines, you have about a 60% chance of coming back and purchasing another product. If you purchase an edible or a beverage, you're pretty much not, without purchasing any flower, you're never going to come back and be a repeat customer. That's going to be your one shot boom and done. And so from that, I don't see the beverage market growing as fast as what these people think that is going to do. But you know what? Good luck to them, and what I'm saying, more power to them overall. We wish them luck, but I just don't see it.
I think we've got some interesting parallel conversation in the chat, especially around anglers. Mm-hmm. People in aquatic repairing environments. Maybe they're moving, maybe there's wind, maybe they have a cooler. Like, I really, really agree with what's being said there, that 50% of anglers are probably potheads. Probably the other 50% love beer. I'm self-identifying in that category. Mm-hmm. Both of each of those 50%, as well as enjoying time on the water when possible. And I do think that there are action sports, lifestyles, outdoors activities where beverages make even more sense. And I do think it's just going to continue to grow. I think people want to crack something cold and enjoy it, and they may not always want cottonmouth.
Well, it's getting ready to be wintertime, so maybe that's probably the only cold they're going to be cracking, Yarrow. But nonetheless, we're going to roll into our final story. I think you'll find this somewhat interesting, Yarrow, because a now former sheriff deputy was arrested for smoking marijuana vape pens in the staff bathroom. The BCSO says, you guys, that's right. Ivan Estrada, 23, had been employed by the Bexar County Sheriff's Office for nearly 5 months. A now former deputy with the Bexar County Sheriff's Office was arrested for possession of a controlled substance, admitting to smoking a marijuana vape pen on the job, BCSO said in a news release. Ivan Estrada, 23, is also charged with having a prohibited substance item inside a correctional facility. At approximately 9 p.m. on Thursday, a deputy on break at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office Detention Center smelled, in quotes, a strong odor of marijuana coming from the staff restroom. A BCSO Criminal Investigation Division determined Estrada was the last to use the restroom and later questioned him, and Estrada, who initially denied having any marijuana, later admitted to smoking the vape pen after further questioning. Investigators later tested the vape pen and confirmed the presence of THC, according to the sheriff's office, and Estrada was placed into custody and later booked on his charges. Well, that was convenient, getting arrested at the jail. They didn't have to travel that far. In accordance with BCSO Civil Service Commission, Estrada was dismissed due to his probationary status with the agency, and Estrada cannot repeal the dismissal and is not eligible for rehire regardless of the case's outcome, BCSO said. In a quote, "Half a dozen dedicated deputies worked to bring someone to justice who violated his oath. That oath breaker is now in jail and unemployed," Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar said in the news release. "I'm thankful to this dedicated group who went above and beyond to ensure swift justice." But by K-Stat's account, Estrada is the 10th BCSO deputy arrested this year, and he has been employed with BCSO since April 28th of 2025. And BCSO's Public Integrity Unit is handling the criminal case, while the Internal Affairs Unit conducts a separate and concurrent administrative investigation, you guys. This guy went into the bathroom and hit a vape pen and really thought he was going to get away with it. Like, what is going on with these people? Like, what are they thinking? Like, they need to have a smoke buddy with them or something, or, you know, something to mask the smell, because that stuff is strong, man. What are these guys thinking?
He just didn't know that the thin blue line won't continue when it comes to Blue Dream. But the truth is, those people tend to protect their own, even when their behavior is not aligned with the duty and job description.
That's cute with the Blue Dream. That's pretty. I'm kind of mad. I didn't think of that. That's pretty good.
I think this guy got so high he didn't know what state he was in or what his job was.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you're in Texas and you're a sheriff.
He's a correctional officer. He's a correctional officer in a jail. Correctional officer.
In the I
sheriff
read that it was.
Yes, he is a sheriff because the
sheriff's deputy, dude.
Yeah, no, he was. It says that he was a correctional officer later on, and the sheriffs are the ones that maintain the jails. He was a correctional officer inside the jail.
Well, the article says a now former deputy with Bexar County Sheriff's Office.
I understand that.
He was wherever he happened to serve his deputy position.
Yeah.
What building he was in doesn't matter. He's a sheriff's deputy. He works in the sheriff's office, so he's in the sheriff office. So I don't know if you've ever seen movies about Texas sheriffs.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure Bexar County is not like Austin.
Yep.
Okay. So there's like Austin, Texas, and then there's the rest of Texas.
Well, you know the best part about being in Austin, right, Jesse? You're surrounded by Texas.
Leah's there? I don't know.
You're surrounded by Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it speaks to a couple things here, right? First of all, typically, malfeasance is just covered up. We know that. Secondly, it says that he was like a newish hire. I'm really more concerned not for his lack of judgment as I am for the person who's deciding to hire people that have this level of judgment. Okay? Like,
that's where I was going with this, is how stupid is this guy and how did he get even to be a part of this?
How'd they give him the uniform when he's rocking that kind of IQ and executive function and cognitive abilities? And how many others have already been hired who are at that same Mensa level that are still in uniform down there and just haven't gotten in trouble?
And like, dude couldn't just wait to go outside?
Well, the chat had a really good point, which is like, look, what peacekeepers, what civil servants do on their off hours if they're not on call, really, they need the opportunity to unwind and unplug just like any other human being.
Obviously, we all agree with that, but that's not what happened here.
On duty,
in the office, in the bathroom.
I wouldn't want my brain surgeon doing it. I wouldn't want a guard doing it. I don't think I'd want my airline pilot doing it. Like,
just
yeah.
Yes, I'm with you guys. This is dumb. Like, this guy could have easily just like gone out to his car and did this. He didn't have to go into the bathroom. Like, that was a stupid decision.
He could have waited till he got off of work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, he would have been fine.
As a taxpayer, I'm not paying for anybody to get high.
I mean, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that, Yarrow. Well,
you know what he should have done, Jason?
What's that?
He should have just taken a cannabis beverage inside. He wouldn't have got caught.
There you go. There you go. That's his answer. What's he doing?
Of course.
What's he doing? Didn't he know he should have just gotten a can and nobody would have known the difference?
Or eat an edible so you don't have to re-up at all. Like, come on, bro. What is going on? This kid's an idiot.
You guys are jokesters. You guys are jokesters. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this story. That was fun. And thank you all.
He is 23.
Yeah, it's 23.
And he FAFO'd. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai are somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
Weed for the people.